Hello, Coven. I am your host, Rachel Pond, and in today's episode, I will be discussing my favorite spooky movies. Um, and let's start off with the Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project was released in '99. You can find it on Hulu, and it has a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 86 on Rotten Tomatoes. The Blair Witch Project is the the premise of the Blair Witch is three young film students go to a small town in New England, questioning the residents there about a legend of the Blair Witch. And after doing so for a couple days, they venture out into the woods to see if they can come to a definitive answer on their own if this legend has any truth to it. And that is where mayhem ensues. And I highly recommend that you check it out. It's one of my go-to movies, definitely, during this time of the month. Or this time of the year. My second is Merlin, which was released in 89 or 98. It has a 7.1 on IMDb and an 82 on Rotten Tomatoes. Merlin is the story of King Arthur, but told by the wizard Merlin, his perspective of it. And it's got some cheesy acting in there, but yeah, it's definitely worth it. So this movie was originally a three-part TV show on NBC, and then it was made into the movie, and I highly recommend it. Next is The Secret Window. The Secret Window stars Johnny Depp. The Secret Window was released in 2004. You can catch it on Prime Video. The Secret Window has a 6.6 on IMDb and a 46 on Rotten Tomatoes. I totally disagree with both of those ratings. They should be higher. This movie is amazing. The Secret Window, like I said, has Johnny Depp, and The Secret Window is about a man who is struggling with his mental health. He has split personality, and you're seeing everything the majority of the movie, you're seeing everything outside of him. So you think he's sane, you think he's fine, and then as the movie draws to a close, the camera turns around and you realize that he has made up all these different personas to help him cope. One of the characters that he makes up accuses him of plagiarism and writing his book, and he's like, fine, I'll go get you the copy to prove to you that I wrote it first. And when the time comes to hand it over, the story has been ripped out of the book, and it's because he did it. He's trying to prove to himself, you realize he's having an argument with his split personality, so he's trying to prove to his split personality that he did it. And in the story, coincidentally, that he's claiming to have written first, is a story about a man who kills his ex-wife and his ex-wife's boyfriend, plants their bodies in the garden, and then plants corn and then eats the corn. So he's therefore eating the evidence. So a touch of cannibalism. Again, highly recommend. Then we have the Perception. I think I'm saying that right. Possession. I don't know why I've got that lisp today, but yeah, it was released in 2012, and you can catch this one on Sling, and on IMDb it's rated 9.5 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes has it as at 39. Again, totally disagree. This movie was based on a actual true story. In the movie, during a yard sale, Emma begs her father to buy her this box. Once they have the box at home, she becomes very possessive of the box and eventually starts showing up, starts showing signs of being possessed, and it just goes from there. The father seeks out help to help break her daughter of this obsession and connection that she has with the box, and it's truly a terrifying and just on the edge of your seat kind of movie. Definitely watch. Let's see here. Then we have 1 Hour Photo with Robert Williams. This movie came out in 2002. Rest in peace, Robert Williams. You are missed. This movie I did not see coming. You can catch this one also on YouTube if you're interested in checking it out. But yeah, when I first heard of this movie, I did not expect it to be good, because Robert Williams, who expects him to be doing like a thriller? But he plays Cy Parrish, a 1 Hour Photo technician, and in the movie, he's a very lonely man, just by himself all the time. So he, in his mind, makes stories up about him and his customers, and he's kind of latched on to this one particular family. And when he finds out that the father is having an affair, he switches the photos around, so the guy who's having an affair, his wife, will find the photos, and when that doesn't have the effect that he's looking for, he takes matters into his own hand and tracks down the husband and the woman he's having an affair with, and holds them at knife point and puts them in very questionable, like sexual positions, and takes photos of them and tries to shame them. He gets arrested, and it goes off from there. Then we have What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and who is it? Michelle. Hold on, I think it's Michelle Pfeiffer. I knew it was Michelle. You can catch this movie on Hulu, and What Lies Beneath came out in 2000. And What Lies Beneath follows the story of Harrison Ford, who plays Norman, and his wife Claire, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And after their daughter moves off to college, they move into the family vacation home on the water, and the wife starts being haunted by a spirit, by an entity, and she finds out that it was the woman, or actually college student, that her husband had an affair with, and when things didn't go the way he intended, he murders her. And in the end, Harrison Ford and Nicole Kidman get in a fight, and she survives. She fended herself. She stood her ground, and Harrison Ford dies in the end. And it's a great movie, definitely. I don't know if I mentioned, it has a 6.6 on IMDb and a 46 on Rotten Tomatoes. But you can't really trust Rotten Tomatoes. I don't feel like you can. Next, we have Practical Magic. Practical Magic was released in 98. You can catch it on Prime Video, and it has a 6.3 on IMDb and a 22 on Rotten Tomatoes, which, boy, do I disagree with that. Practical Magic tells the story of two sisters, Sally and Gillian Owen. Sally is played by Sandra Bullock, and Gillian is played by Nicole Kidman. They both are born into a magical family, and they both kind of shun magic the majority of their life until Gillian starts a relationship with a very violent guy, and they accidentally kill him. And then they bring him back, because obviously they don't want to go to prison for murdering somebody. And then he comes back and inhabits Gillian's body, and then moves on over to the detective who comes to uncover his body. Like, you try to figure out why this guy just went missing. And how I'm sorry, trying to pull up the notes again, and how Sally and the detective, their relationship, and how it all brings them together, how the case brings them together. There's more to it. I'm just giving you a brief overview on all these movies, because Anchor only allows an episode to be an hour. I can't be any longer than that, so I'm trying to rush through this. Then we have Shutter Island, which stars Leonardo DiCaprio, and Shutter Island came out in 2010. You can find it on Hulu. It has an 8.2 on IMDb and a 68 on Rotten Tomatoes. Shutter Island is the story of Ted Daniels, I don't know why that was so hard for me to say, who is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and he is a patient on Shutter Island, but they let him play out this fantasy of him being a detective coming to solve a mystery. And when that does not work out in their favor, when that does not help him have any breakthrough, he gets tricked into having a lobotomy. And it is an amazing, mind-twisting, mind-bending, terrifying movie. Whenever I want to have a good scare or cuddle up next to somebody during a scary movie, this is my go-to movie. Next, we have The Lovely Bones. Lovely Bones came out in 2009. You can find it on Hulu. It is rated at a 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb and 32 on Rotten Tomatoes. The Lovely Bones is the story of a 14-year-old girl, Susie Salmon, who gets murdered by her next door neighbor, and the movie follows the two separate paths that her parents take to cope with the loss of their daughter, and how the father will not give up until he solves the case. Unfortunately, there is not enough evidence to put her killer away, but in the end, he gets his own, and he falls off the edge. The murderer, the guy that kills Susie, he falls off the edge of a cliff and dies. So he gets what's coming to him. Then we have The Green Mile, which stars Tom Hanks, and you can catch the Green Mile on YouTube, and The Green Mile also came out in 1999. It has an 8.6 on IMDb and a 78 on Rotten Tomatoes. So Tom Hanks plays Paul, and he is a guard at a prison where where the character John Coffin, played by Michael Clark Duncan, he plays John Coffin, and John Coffin gets accused of raping and murdering these two young girls. Whereas as the movie develops, you realize he absolutely had nothing to do with their deaths. He was just in the wrong place, wrong time, and he came across the bodies and tried his best to help them. Because you realize that John Coffin has a power where he's able to suck whatever negative thing is in the person's body and help and can heal them, which he does end up doing for Paul, Tom Hanks's character. His boss, his wife, is dying of cancer, and John Coffin performs a miracle by sucking the cancer out of her body and healing her. But that is not enough to save John Coffin's life, unfortunately, in this movie. Then we have Hansel and Gretel, The Witch Hunt. You can catch this one on Sling. And Hansel and Gretel, The Witch Hunt came out in 2013. And it is a fun twist on the traditional Hansel and Gretel, where they grow up, they defeat the witch and they grow up and they become witch hunters. And along the way, they discover that they are witches. It's not just that they're good at, defeating and killing witches. And that's why witches can never hurt them, because they have witch blood. It's awesome. Definitely recommend. Wow, I blew right through all those. So those are all for this episode. And I want to, before, I close this up, there are 2 stories that I want to share. And then I just want to quickly talk about the blue moon that is coming. Well, I'm recording this Friday night, so tomorrow, Saturday night, will be a blue moon, which just means that it's the second full moon of the month. And what I will be doing for tomorrow is meditation and connecting to my ancestors, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, 2 times great-grandmother, and 4 times great-grandmother. So I have some belongings of each of them, and I'm going to do a dumb supper, which is just when you eat silently and you give some food to your ancestors. You put it, across from you, or you can put it on your altar. And then when you're done eating, in complete silence, no music, no TV, no nothing, complete silence, and you don't look at the plate. When you're done, either you can leave it outside for the animals, or you can put it away, wrap it up, and save it for the next day, and you can consume it. So if you guys have any interesting things planned, I would love to get together. I would have loved to get together with other witches, kind of get like a group or something going. But of course, with COVID, that's just not a practical thing that's going to happen. Hopefully next year, fingers crossed. But I would love to hear from you guys. You can message me on Instagram or take photos of whatever you end up doing on Halloween night, and tag me in it. You can tag me on Instagram at That New Witch, and I would love to just know what you guys are up to for Halloween. And then I have 2 stories that I want to quickly share with you guys. The first one is, so yesterday I was out with a friend. She had to go and she changed her name, so we had to head down to DSS, which is like food stamps and all that, so she could take care of that. And as I'm off to the side waiting for her, she's waiting to have her name called. It's kind of like the DMV, you call your name and you go up to the window. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I have this feeling that the woman in window 3 is going to call my friend. But then I was like, no, Rachel, maybe it's going to be window 4, because that person's been turning out people pretty fast. And just as I second guessed, just as I said, no, maybe not window 4, or maybe not window 3, window 4, As soon as I said that, window 3 called my friend Carrie, and I was like, wow, mind blown. Don't ever second guess yourself. If your gut feeling tells you that something's going to happen, most likely it's going to happen, and your gut feeling is just there to protect you. Now, obviously, in that situation, no one was in danger, there was nothing to be warned about, but it was just, I found that so amazing that something so simple like just being called to a certain window, I I already had an instinct of which window she was going to go to. And so I just want to put that out there because I know I can't be the only person that sometimes second guesses their intuition, their gut feeling. And so when I put it out there and I say, don't ever second guess yourself, I'm saying that just as much as to myself as I am, saying that to like empower other people. Your gut feeling is pretty much always right. I am not going to say always right because nothing's always right or wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, but I have been in multiple different situations in my life where my gut feeling has said to do something and I've gone and done the opposite. And whenever I have, the thing that ended up happening was definitely not in my favor. So pay attention to your intuition. The second story I want to share is about 10 years ago, I went to the cemetery here in Brantford, in the center of town, where my grandfather is now buried. At the time, he was alive. He wasn't there. But I went there because at this time I was living with my grandparents. And I woke up and I was like, I need to go to the cemetery. I want to go and meditate and see if anything will happen. I just want to go to meditate. And I've never done that before. I think that sounds amazing. And so I sat in front of my grandfather's family member's tombstone. They have like a triangle-shaped tombstone, and it's got like his mother, his grandfather, his grandmother, and his aunts on the tombstone. So I go there, and all of a sudden, as I'm meditating, this woman shows up, and she just smiles. It was like this warmth, and like she was just so overjoyed that she saw me. Like she had been waiting for me to show up. And then a minute later, this guy shows up, and again, his smile was just like beaming, like he was just so overjoyed to see me, like they had been waiting for me. And so then I finished my meditating, and I was totally taken away by that. I went back home, saw my grandmother, and I told her about my experience. And so she pulled out some photos, and right away I pinned it. I was like, that's who I saw, that's the man, that's the woman. And she's like, wow, that's my grandfather's mother and grandfather that I channeled. And I was just mind blown because I had never seen photos of them before. And she was amazed by that too. So just let me backtrack just a bit. When I was back at the cemetery, just as I was getting ready to leave, I look up, and one of the tombstones towards the very front of the cemetery, like if you walk right past it, there's a tombstone, and it's made out of solid stone, and it's rectangle shaped, so it's above ground. So you literally just place the body in it and put the lid, and then that's that. So there was this woman in like I'd say 19th century garb, like like black dress and a black veil. So she was clearly in mourning clothes, and all of a sudden I came over this feeling came over me like I had overstayed in the cemetery. So I rushed out, and that's when I went home and I told my grandmother. I didn't tell her about the woman that I saw sitting on the grave because I didn't want it to sound so. I didn't want it to come across like I made it up or whatever. I was shocked to believe that she even believed me about having the vision, about meditating and channeling, my grandfather's mother and my grandfather's grandfather. So I'm glad she believed me. But, yeah, so those are the little stories I just wanted to share. Next Saturday, which will be November 7th, the episode will be Witch 101. So like 101 for beginner witches. Which clearly I am, and I got a hunch that if you're listening to my podcast, most likely you are too. So this will be beneficial for all of us. And if you would like to follow me, you can do so on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, all under That New Witch. And feel free to rate and comment on the podcast. It really helps, so when people look up which podcast, it pushes mine more to the top and closer to the top, so it's easier for people to find it. But I think that will be it for this episode, and I will be back next week, Coven. So see you then.